Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon or this evening. Julia Fineman is going to be speaking to us about a project that is quite interesting and quite amazing. I'm really in awe of what you've been able to accomplish over the last couple of years. Julie, you just took an idea and you turned it into a viable program that we're now going statewide with. So thank you for sharing this with our Blackland Prairie chapter today, and I'll go ahead and let you get started. I know you have some very exciting things to cover with us. Before she does get started, though, there are some documents that you guys will want to download. It's in the chat. So at your convenience, go in and download those documents. And if you have any challenges with downloading it or transferring it, if you're on your phone, if there's any issues at all, you can just send me a quick email and I'll send the documents to you. So, Julie, without any further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's a privilege to be speaking to your chapter on this beautiful evening just after the rains. And I'm sure all your gardens are starting to explode with a lot of color, like it is over in eastern part of Dallas where I live. And let's go ahead and move to the next slide. And I'd like to start by showing you our 15-minute documentary, because that's going to answer a lot of questions. And then I'm going to fill in how we're onboarding cemeteries currently.
In quiet corners of our city, behind rustic gates and beneath tangles of overgrown vines, lie cemeteries that have been forgotten as the communities around them move on. Historic cemeteries, an integral part of the tapestry of every city, tell a story not just of neglect, but of possibility.
7 years ago, my husband and I were drawn to this beautiful home in a forested area of Dallas, though right next door happened to be a historic cemetery that was neglected. 2 years later, I became a master naturalist and a master gardener student and quickly learned I was living next door to a natural disaster. So I gathered my neighbors and we went to work 3 months every weekend to clear the privet. But what's so extraordinary is Engelmann daisies and Blackland Prairie grasses bloomed as if remembering themselves.
This sparked the birth of a new movement, the Constellation of Living Memorials, a visionary 2-year pilot program created by the Friends of the Warren Ferris Cemetery, a 501c3, was started to bridge the gap between humanity and nature and realize the potential for life buried in each historic cemetery. It is a small but mighty initiative, with wide recognition ranging from Dallas publications to a feature on the New York Times front page. Oakland Cemetery, a 47-acre cemetery located in Dallas's southern sector, is part of the 2-year pilot program, along with 4 other historic cemeteries.
The cemetery had really been neglected for a really long time. When we first came out here, because of the tremendous amount of overgrowth, there was a lot of criminal activity taking place out here, and clearing it all and getting to a point where you can now see through the cemetery and cars that are coming and going and whatnot. We don't see that anymore. We were able to build trust with our families because we did spend 4 years clearing the ground and cleaning it up. And so they were able to come out and see the tremendous amount of work and progress that was made in returning dignity to the final burial space. So when we decided to turn around and take a few acres off of that 47 and say, okay, we're dedicating this strictly to prairie preservation. We had a few people that questioned, why isn't this area getting mowed? Why isn't this area under the maintenance plan and whatnot? But we were able to explain to them what the overall goal was.
That trust has led to some incredible results and opportunities for the Constellation of Living Memorials to leverage more partnerships for the greatest amount of impact. For example, in collaboration with Texas Trees Foundation, over the course of just 4 workdays, 48 volunteers from 7 organizations were able to remove approximately 1.25 acres of invasive vegetation. This makes a huge difference for families who are now able to access the grave sites of loved ones and ancestors. Transformation continues with intentional native landscape design to support wildlife. The Oakland Cemetery Wildflower Memorial is an area dedicated to the remembrance of 300 victims of fungal meningitis buried here in 1913 without any type of marker. Now, their memory is honored with a vibrant array of native wildflowers and grasses. This small pond provides water to local wildlife. The Constellation secured grant funding through the North Texas Master Naturalist chapter, creating a class project, empowering students to lead native landscape design at Oakland Cemetery, including installing the pond, creating the Wildflower Memorial, and participating in flora-fauna surveys. Inspired by this experience, the class created the Oakland Prairie Preservation Project. In all 5 participating historic cemeteries, we now see native plants blooming in multitudes, and native insects and wildlife taking residence in these renewed spaces.
We're here to create a beautiful final resting place for everyone that's here and return the dignity to all of those buried here, and also respect the land. Mother Nature doesn't stop. We've got to work in tandem and not work against it.
Giving Mother Nature space to transform herself creates space for transformation in communities. Community partnerships pave the way for these transformations to extend even further.
Constellation of Living Memorials had this project of reviving abandoned or neglected cemeteries. Well, Julie, she wanted to involve youth in her project. And we love the idea because she came out with one project that we are very interested here in Dallas County, because we are an urban program. And we don't have that much space for livestock and agriculture like is traditionally known by forage programs. We want to teach kids about entomology, the study of bugs. With the help of Constellation of Living Memorials, one of the cemeteries that are part of the project and the Compassion Center in Dallas, we started to recruit kids to actually deliver a 10-lesson program of combined curriculum of beekeeping and entomology. And they love the idea of teaching the community that reach out to them every day and teaching the youth those subject areas. So it was amazing. We had a really, really, really good program. Right now it's actually a 4-H club, and they're meeting pretty much every week. And they are learning along with Constellation of Living Memorials and the cemetery about wildlife. And believe me, this is a small cemetery in the middle of the city. The things that they have done in that cemetery is amazing.
Outside of funeral, cemetery is like off limits, whether it was active or inactive. These learning spaces that is with these historic graveyards is highly important. You don't get this in school. So exposing them to this level of nature from a controlled learning environment with these historic cemeteries is going to be key for their development.
It's a public value, not only to recover a piece of history and beautifying it and transform it into a classroom, but also to bring communities together and bring youth, which is our future, to teach them something new or something that they can't get anywhere else.
Albert Carver Cemetery, the perfect backdrop for the 4-H Club's outdoor portion, is a small family cemetery on the corner of a large, busy intersection. The family has spent years and money trying to fix the same fences over and over while maintaining the cemetery itself. In the last couple of years, As they've participated in the pilot program for the Constellation, they've begun to make other kinds of changes to allow more space for wildlife and native plants. This year, after dealing with damage from hit and runs over and over, the Carver family was able to install $2,675 worth of large rocks around the perimeter to help protect the fence. This was made possible with grant funding obtained by the Constellation.
We're going to put the boulders right behind the guardrail and eventually move the fence line as close back as we possibly can, because we've got the historical marker right there. We recently had the 2 infant headstones repaired. We're hoping that placing the boulders will eliminate any more of the damage to the fence. It will be hopefully the end of our headache over here with the constant hit and runs.
Each cemetery is unique and has its own personality. Western Heights Cemetery shows us a beautiful contrast. Here we can find the headstone of Clyde Barrow, of Bonnie and Clyde fame, or a humble, homemade cement headstone lovingly engraved by hand. The work of preservation is essential, and it takes many forms. The Constellation also provides repair workshops at the partner cemeteries. This ensures that headstones are being cared for appropriately, and the legacy they represent can be appreciated for many years. Grants through the Constellation enabled another remarkable partnership.
My name is Van Johnson. I'm the volunteer coordinator here at Western Heights Cemetery. I'm having a blast on this project. We are one of the 5 pilot cemeteries for the Constellation of Living Memorials, and we are in the second half of the second year. The Constellation of Living Memorials obtained the $30,000 Texas Historical Foundation grant. We have come a long way. We've used the money to plant a lot of native plants, and also the mowing hiatus has allowed our native seed bank to emerge, and we have a remarkable amount of diversity because of that. The Constellation of Living Memorials also obtained a $30,000 grant from the Summerlin Foundation. Victoria Clow teaches anthropology at Dallas College. She was hired to have her students, which they've done in many other cemeteries, professionally clean these headstones. We did a screen scrape of everything on Find a Grave. And then Victoria Clow's students, when they were done cleaning, then they went back through and they noted the condition of every stone, whether it was cracked, tilted, leaning, chipped, scratched. So all that's recorded.
This one-year study conducted by Victoria Clow and her students concluded with an open-sourced constellation of living memorial cultural archaeological curriculum for students nationwide.
My goal is for Western Heights Cemetery to be the best researched historical cemetery in Dallas County.
Thanks to a large network of dedicated volunteers, this important work can continue, and the Constellation of Living Memorials transformation of sacred spaces into even more communities.
It's a peaceful place, and if, like I said, if you're trying to make your mind up or you got something heavy that's weighing on you, this is definitely a place that you would just want to come walk through. This is a lot of acres, and if people could really come out here and see how it looks now from where it came from, I think they would be inspired to do better or be like us.
This place right here, it has the potential to be one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the country.
Through the transformation of these sacred spaces, we begin to experience an authentic sense of place and allow future generations to see where they've come from.
There are over 15,000 cemeteries in Texas. A third of them are neglected. So you can imagine the impact that we can make, even if we just take a tenth of the third and restore them back into wildlife habitats. We're living in a time when the divide between people and planet has grown too wide. But I've seen it, how community members, given the chance, come alive when they're offered a role in restoration. It's not just work, it's healing. The Constellation of Living Memorials invites us to reimagine death, to celebrate the circle of life.
Okay, we can end it there. And it's interesting to see the video in staccato because of the delay. We do have, you can watch it again if you'd like on the Constellation of Living Memorials YouTube channel. And I encourage you to do so because there were, at the end, we showcase the credits of hundreds of people that participated in helping to actualize our program after over the past 2 years. So I consider them all co-creators to the constellation. So let's go ahead to move to the next slide. Oops. So hold on, let's go back to the other one. There you go. So in the video, I mentioned that a third of the 15,000 Texas cemeteries are neglected. Well, as of September of last year, according to the Texas Historical Commission, it has bumped up to 2/3. So we are definitely dealing with a big, wicked problem. And we have a recipe to solve that. And when you look at where all the cemeteries exist on this map, it's a major thoroughfare for a migratory way station for butterflies to birds and other migratory wildlife. And also, if you look at this map, depending on your cultural background, it also informs where the majority of the plantations were in Texas back in the day. So you can imagine there's probably double or triple the amount of cemeteries that are not part of the database. Through time, they are slowly finding their way onto the database to be recognized from those days. And if you look also at the maroon dots, this is the list of Texas A&M research and extension centers that includes the headquarters across the state. So our partnership with Texas A&M is integral to our success because you are the backbone for making this happen with your knowledge base and educating the local communities around these cemeteries about what it means to rekindle these sacred portals to intentional native plant wildscapes, that this is an opportunity to build upon the work that we do and have a deeper reach within our community that we normally wouldn't have a reach. So it's really exciting to see the interest that is being germinated. We also were invited to be on the Texas A&M Wrangler program for the year 2026 and through 2027. And so we just had today our initial launch, and what that means to be a part of that program. So you're all coming along for this ride and being a part of what we're learning, how we're expanding, and it's very exciting. Okay, let's go ahead to the next slide. So the Constellation of Living Memorials is a collective vision uniting heritage, nature, and community through preservation work, restoration of the land, and conservation of our biodiversity to enhance the resilience of our ecosystems. Because as you well know, when it comes to public health, if we lose our pollinators, our local environment collapses. And through urbanization, we've caused a lot of damage. And this is an opportunity to rekindle these wildlife sanctuaries in these sacred spaces by restoring them in a way that's intentional and meaningful, where we bring community together, the local neighborhoods, to be a part of this new way of seeing these places. And instead of them becoming the deterrent in their neighborhood or an eyesore or drawing nefarious activity, they become neighborhood jewels and educational resources on so many different levels. Okay, next slide. So these cemeteries are living classrooms and community assets. They are vital anchor investments for each community. So we're reimagining how these sacred portals are perceived by humanity. We're changing the way we interface with these spaces. So we're creating these spaces for remembrance, reflection, and reconciliation with not only yourself, but your own family, your family's history with friends. And it's a place of learning and discovery, not only for our natural nature, but also, let's go back to that slide, please. Not only for, thank you, not only for learning about our natural resources, but our local historical resources. And these are usually two camps that don't interface with each other. We've siloed these just through the nature of who we are. But I'm realizing that we can cast a wider net to expand our reach as master naturalists to the cultural historical community to engage with us, and it's working. And also these places really create cultural identity for the city or the county that you live in, fostering a tremendous sense of place, and social and emotional connections. I'm beginning to realize we're creating little blue zones, because what a blue zone is where community comes together to support each other in a way that extends one's life. And by being out in nature and through physical gardening and exchange with your community about what you're learning, adds tremendous value to one's longevity. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So we're going to play this 2-minute animation, and I'll explain what we're seeing as we go along. So we are now in the process of collecting empirical data to ground the work that we are doing from community engagement, volunteerism. We have a public art initiative and the documentary that you just saw to convey our story. This is founded in the 3 pillars of CLM: community, environment, and government. And how that's done is through teaching natural history, wildlife habitat, learning about the value of green spaces, reducing the heat island index because we're not mowing and blowing to decibel status, and we're learning about our cultural history. And through the documentary and our youth workforce that we're just starting to initiate, and through our public art initiative, this ties it all together. Because if you just do research, those reports find themselves collecting dust in, in libraries. And when we can get our message out through the arts, whether it be through our documentary, again, which you could find on our Constellation of Living Memorials YouTube site, or through our traveling Circle of Life exhibition, which is now currently on display at the Trinity River Audubon Center. And it will be up for it till mid-June, but we're going to temporarily move it to the EarthX Congress of Conferences this year at the Anatole in order to gain global exposure because of what that platform provides us in regards to visibility that is immeasurable and in regards to exposure for us. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. So the model in action, how this works. So how we're engaging with master naturalists, master gardeners, as well as those who are in the Native Plant Society chapters throughout the state of Texas. We're now have the opportunity to build to scale. One of our benefactors provided us with a $50,000 gift, of which 3 weeks later I turned around and I said, I know how this money is going to be utilized. If you can go ahead and go back to that slide, where we're going to offer master naturalists, master gardeners, and NIPSOT members a $500 grant per cemetery per year to start taking baby steps of taking a portion of these cemeteries to restore back to its natural habitat as closely as possible. And of course, you need to get buy-in from the stakeholders that manage these properties. And if more often than not, these properties are not owned by anyone. So what it will take is a group of people that collectively come together and become the caretakers of the cemetery. And so the key takeaway is that each partner, so let's say Tom Shackelford wishes to be the volunteer lead for one of his local cemeteries, and he gathers volunteers to support this effort. We have a incredible articulate package that is dynamic. We're refining it as we go along to make sure that we're communicating as clearly as possible since we're in launch phase. So this is an opportunity once a singular person within your chapter or multiple people within your chapter identify different cemeteries, each cemetery has the opportunity to receive a $500 grant per year. And so this is how we're growing our constellation. And it's already started to grow. Maine University has created a CLM guide for their state because they have completely different ecosystem. Matt Orwatt from Texas A&M AgriLife and I are putting the final touches for the Texas guide that should be released by the end of this month or midway through next month. And it's all coming together and everyone's really excited about participating. Okay, next slide. So from field work to endowment, we have partnered with S&M or SMU, Hunter and Stephanie Hunt Institute for Engineering and Humanities. So we're launching the Youth Native Plant Propagation Initiative, where we're building relationships with public schools, private schools, as well as homeschooled kids to create workforce opportunities to learn how to grow from seed. And so as these kids are growing up and becoming much more astute in the data era, we also want to allow them to have their other hand connected to the soil, to the seed, to the sky, in building their relationship with Mother Nature so that we're creating balanced individuals and having the connectivity to both as they grow. A Mapping Memory is another multi-year research program that is being led by Cindy Hu. And this is where we've moved so far from understanding the land as it was used when the pioneers and the indigenous peoples were using the land for sustenance. And through time, we've grown so distant from that relationship of the power of the land that there's so much memory in the land that we are going back in time to map the memory of the land, also in relationship to the cultural practices through time. And this is going to create an incredible resource of understanding of what our relationship was with the land to rekindle that relationship. And we're presenting from statewide to national natural resource conferences. Matt Orwatt, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Agent for Dallas County, submitted our program to the statewide ag universities that have extension programs. It was very competitive to be accepted into this conference, this national conference, and we were invited in. So that's a huge feather in our cap, and it provides us with national exposure to expand our program to solve this very big national problem. And one of our benefactors offered us a $250,000 matching gift that this person gave us to August of this year to make the match. And the end of last month, we made that match within 3 months, which is really exciting. So that endowment is now within 4 months of time is now over $600,000, which is going to ensure that when we're all long gone, this program continues to support the services of our relationship with these sacred spaces. Okay, next slide, please. So, what is the ecosystem of the Constellation of Living Memorials? Well, it is an incredible umbrella that encompasses, let's start from the lower right, where we celebrate our local culture, past and present. We are creating more public spaces where we're reimagining these landscapes for regenerative purposes in regards to changing our perception with nature as well as with cemeteries as a way of reducing nature deficit disorder, increasing pollinator populations, and just by default, you're going to start creating ecotourism within these spaces because as the pollinators increase, so do all the other wildlife that starts to show up. And so the birders start finding their way. And just by default in that regard, these usually the communities that are, or the neighborhoods that are surrounding these cemeteries are usually in areas that are underserved. And so by beautifying these cemeteries, basically increases the value of the property values for the residents around the cemetery and changes a paradigm shift of how they're perceiving their own landscapes in their front yards. So there's a connectivity right there. And this is where we're also creating a cultural exchange with our community by learning about those who've come before us, and also just by gardening and having this exchange when you're working with the soil in these spaces, there's something profound that happens because now you're gardening in a cemetery, and it takes on a whole different mental experience, spiritual experience. And the communities that start to network around these spaces, they start to bond really strong. And the 5 cemeteries that were a part of our pilot program, they are stellar. I mean, they're growing leaps and bounds, and it's really exciting to see that we are here to stay. And also just the neighbors and just walking through these sacred spaces improves our mental and physical health. They're not parks where you're going to be playing football and basketball, but they're contemplative spaces. So allows you quiet time with yourself or your loved ones. So it's really exciting to see this coming alive in these places. All right, next slide. So I'm so looking forward to answering your questions. And this is our contact information. And we've added one more person to our team. Her name is Melinda Gard. She used to work at EarthX and was part of their community outreach for volunteers and corporate sponsorships. So she's bringing her skill set to our program. And so her email address is Melinda at Constellation of Living Memorials. So now I am open to fielding questions.
Julie, thank you so much. That is such a beautiful and important project and program. If anyone wants to ask her a question now, we have time. You can put it in chat or you can unmute. If you're looking for the documents that accompany this program, if you'll go up to the top of your chat, you can download them from there. If you're unable to download those documents or access them, if you'll just email me at marla.l@bptmn.org, I'll be happy to email them to you. But let's open it up for questions.
Julie, I'm not shy. We met by email, and I guess I'm mostly interested in the Oak Cliff Cemetery. If you have any recent updates, I have reached out to 4 Oak Cliff, and one gentleman that's like a director is out on paternity leave, and I reached out to his assistants today. But I've actually made a couple of calls and haven't really gotten a response. Do you know what activities they've already started?
I don't know. And this is where persistence is going to be your friend. And this is another nonprofit group that are the new stakeholders of this property. And they're probably getting their sea legs since the baton has been passed to them to be the caretakers of this property. So you're going to, patience is going to be your guide. Persistence, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and show up, knock on their door, get involved with their community. And so you can be the volunteer lead for that cemetery to activate that. So that's all I could say on that front.
Okay. One more thing, I do know something that's pretty exciting. The cemetery itself, I guess through the years, has discovered that the Oak Cliff Cemetery is part of the 10th District Freeman District, and the 10th Street Freeman Historical Group are hoping to create, because they know that there's some unmarked graves that were freed slaves that are in this cemetery. And so I'm going to try to reach out to them also. And
that would be great.
I shared with you that some of my ancestors, several of my ancestors, are buried there, and I've made several visits. And there's just, I guess, like a lot of small rural, well, it's not a rural, small urban cemeteries. It's pretty run down with, you can tell, drug paraphernalia and kids and fireworks and a lot of that kind of stuff, and trash. a lot of
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And by being a part of the constellation, all of that goes away because of um, the people that are taking care of it. They're showing up on a continual basis, and the people that are selling the drugs or prostitution in these spaces, believe it or not, um, they go find a place, they move their business elsewhere because they don't want to be interfacing with people showing up. So this is the value that we bring to these cemeteries. And the Oak Cliff Cemetery is the largest intact freedmen's township, if you will. It's a remnant, very important remnant in the United States. So it's a very important cemetery. Thank you, Logan. Anybody else?
Julie, if someone's interested, they think they may know of a property or they just want to lend a hand, what do they do? Just contact you individually, or is there just email you? What's the best thing to do?
Yes, email me. There's so much that you can get involved with. So let's say you physically are challenged and you just want to participate in, let's say, being the volunteer lead. We definitely would love somebody on that front, as well as supporting our efforts onboarding new cemeteries. Or if you have a skill set in social media, we welcome that as well. So the world is your oyster, and we're so open to inviting everyone's gifts who have time. If you can't, if you, let's say, don't know of a cemetery, or let's say you do know of a cemetery that's right next door to your house in your neighborhood, the first thing to do is first do the research of who owns that cemetery, because that is the number one criteria to be involved in our program, is to get the owner's approval to take a portion of their cemetery transition, taking baby steps. And the next year, when the stakeholders realize the beautification is powerful, you then start expanding into the space that is intentional. We also have passive educational signage that you could download from our website when you do become a star in the constellation for free. Where then you have this signage, you take it to this artwork, you take it to your local sign maker, and you have them make the signs on aluminum, and the stakes, they're about $25 to have those printed. And so then you put that passive educational signage into the cemetery. So the naysayers who don't understand what they're looking at first, they're now being educated through the signage. So they're left feeling empowered and wanting more. So being a part of the constellation, we also provide you with a wealth of guidance as well as art to educate your community.
Julie, Patrick asked, I am curious as to who Warren Ferris was. Was it one individual or perhaps two families?
Warren Angus Ferris was the first person to survey all of Dallas County when it was Blackland Prairie. And his cemetery is the second oldest cemetery in Dallas County. And he started the cemetery when he lost his first son. And then he opened the cemetery to his local pioneer neighbors. So there are over 100 people buried there, but through time, all the headstones were vandalized. And we did hire a genealogist to research the names, research those who were buried there. And so we created a epitaph to list all the names of those that are buried there. And as we learn more, we could add those names. And that it's basically a beautiful stone that's been etched with the names, birth, death dates, and how they died if we were able to find that information. So when we're long gone, that continues to inform the new residents who flux in over time into the neighborhood, who these people are. And this is also an educational hub. There's a QR code when you walk into the cemetery where the teacher, there's a elementary school across the street, and the teachers bring the kids over to learn not only about the local history, but also about the natural history. So it becomes a powerful tool on so many different levels. Any other questions?
All right, if you have a question tomorrow, you wake up with a question in mind, you can email Julie or one of the other folks we have here as contacts. Julie, again, thank you so much. You've had some amazing collaborations. I saw so many different organizations and people contributing to what you're doing, and that's just a wonderful testament to the importance of this project. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, and you're all welcome aboard. So here we go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.